Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Continuing on with our October theme here of signature guitars and guitars that should not be, we have a guitar that comes from the land of Kiss, the legendary band filled with makeup and stuff. What a perfect guitar for Halloween, right? And you guys will be pleased to know that I am completely decked out with the face makeup and everything. But sadly, you guys don't see my face in these videos most of the time, so it's a real shame. But just as some fun backstory behind this one, I initially ordered this guitar all the way back in January. And unfortunately, that dealer just never got any, or something happened with it. So Melody Music Shop was here to save the day again for our Tommy Thayer Les Paul. This is actually Thayer's fourth guitar with Epiphone now. They first started with a silver Spaceman Les Paul, and then just recently they had a Les Paul again and an Explorer called White Lightning. It has this interesting sparkle white finish to it. But now we've got this electric blue one, and oh my goodness. Do you guys see this case? It's blue. I think that's one of the coolest things about this because, you know, for an Epiphone, it is expensive at $849. But it's just such a cool guitar, and they really spec'd it out nicely, so I'm kind of looking forward to looking at this one. But just in case you're not familiar with who Thayer is, he joined Kiss in 2003, so he's not the original Spaceman, but he's definitely been doing it just as long as Fraley ever did. So I think he was with the band, what, 9 years before he did his own solo thing, and then he came back for the reunion tour and stuff. So he's definitely earned his place within Kiss history. You know, this is a lot more of a vibrant blue in person. It kind of reminds me of my old violin bow. Oh my goodness, looking at it on my monitor right here, that's really blue. Ah, cool, and this is like a aged nickel. That looks really cool on this. And if you think this case is crazy, just wait till you see this guitar. I'm excited to see it in, oh my gosh. That is in your face. It's kind of more purple in my opinion, so the blue almost doesn't match the rest, huh? Maybe it's just the lighting in this room. Well, it's definitely earned its title, Les Paul Electric Blue. Besides this electric blue finish that apparently kind of turns purple and matches my shirt depending on your lighting angle, it actually has some other very unique features for an Epiphone. Like, these were released, I think, before they changed the headstocks, but this one has like what they did for their Epiphone Sheraton models. So that's something that's a little bit unique here. But also, on top of all this, you actually get really nice Seymour Duncan pickups in here. I love Epiphones that come with non-Epiphone pickups. I mean, there's some Epiphone pickups that are actually pretty good. I think like their Pro Buckers are halfway decent. When you get something nice out of these things stock and you don't have to do future upgrades, that's always a nice plus. So yeah, this kind of goes from purple to blue. It's got a whole bunch of sparkles. You can almost see through to the wood grain underneath it. Or there's like a scratching effect underneath the sparkles, but this thing's definitely built for somebody who's on stage because that would look crazy under the lights. And on top of that, you get these mirror pick guards and poker chip and switch tip to blind your audience with. And the only downsides I'm seeing right now is it's got that Epiphone D-shaped neck, not my favorite, and that fretboard definitely needs some conditioning. That is super dry. As far as the back goes, I'm surprised they did not do the mirror back plates because sometimes you want to blind people like this. But yeah, sparkly finishes all around. Blue knobs, blue pickup. And then you've got his signature on the back. It's just printed on. He didn't actually sign it. And you get the Spaceman logo right there. Limited edition electric blue. So this thing's pretty sweet on first impressions. Let's see if we got any cool case candy. Nice. It looks like we get a certificate of authenticity. Not as nice as the Gibson booklets, but a decent booklet nonetheless. Kind of a low-res photo of him in here, though. I think they could have got something a little bit better. And it looks like just your other basic stuff. It appears that they've ditched that giant poster that they used to include with Epiphone guitars. And unfortunately, I am not seeing any type of Allen key adjustments with this one. But we do have a case key. It's almost like I'm missing a small portion of my case candy, but that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Even though this thing only has one neck rest, I do want to commend Epiphone. This is actually an Epiphone case that fits ridiculously well. Sometimes there's a little bit of play with these. All right, let's go ahead and check this thing out on the workbench. Inside the Spaceman, let's go ahead and see what's going on here. So our pickups, they're Seymour Duncan JBs, both in the bridge and the neck. Usually your popular combination is the 59 Seymour Duncan in the neck and then the JB in the bridge, but hey, he wanted two of them in here. And I was always curious, are they both blue or did they just do the special blue one for the bridge? So I took out one of these pole pieces to see if I could see, but unfortunately it's completely wax potted, so I was unable to verify if this one would also be blue. I'm betting it's not. That way they didn't have to do so many of these. But short of taking the pickup cover off, yeah, we won't be able to know, sorry. But there you can see Seymour Duncan SH4, which is the code for the JB pickup here. And we can visually verify that they are both the same. But here's something kind of cool. Whenever Gibson does a metallic pickup ring, they don't actually make the whole ring metallic. They just put a metal plate on top of there to make it look cool. But these things are actually legitimately all reflective. So it's just, you know, super in your face. You can tell it's all plastic material. So they've just coated it in something reflective. I personally think that's a great thing. I wish Gibson would also do that because those toppers look a little bit cheesy in my opinion. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to rag on Epiphone a little bit for their cavity routes here. Now keep in mind, some of this is just the paint bunching up, but in other locations you can tell it's just, you know, very splintery. There is definitely some dull router bits on this one. I mean, it's really bad in this bridge pickup cavity. That's just all kinds of chewed up, not very flush. You can see whatever they use to route this, I mean, that's not so good. But in the end of the day, does it really matter? No. But we do have a short neck tenon, but you do have like this little carving out right here for if it were to be a longer one. So pros and cons there. You can also see that our sticker's pretty well coming off here, but it is still there and intact. As far as our bridge and tailpiece, very basic stuff, just your Epiphone Locktone series. This one says Epiphone on the back, as does the bridge, which you can verify here. You're probably thinking I'm crazy when I tell you it's purple, but no, it is purple at certain angles, like right here, it's a little bit more purple, but then you look at this and it's just straight up blue. So it does indeed dance between the two. Sometimes what I see is different than what the camera picks up. But they're calling this finish a custom hollow flake glitter gloss. It truly is an electric blue finish here, and I think it ties in perfectly with the whole Spaceman theme. It's kind of similar to what they did with the modern Flying Vs, just not quite as extreme on those. This is definitely more out there than that. But this finish was birthed by a guy called John Douglas. He worked with Thayer to develop the finish, and then he worked with Epiphone to kind of help them replicate it over in China. But here's what it would look like if you took off that pickguard. You just have those small holes there. You really can't even tell that they're there because of all the sparkly stuff. But this is a mirror pickguard. It's just clear on top, and then they've got the mirror backing on it. And that's not all scratched up. They have a nice little protective film over it, so you don't. Even your switch tip here is like made of the same plastics that they used for the pickup rings. My screwdriver's magnetic, so you can tell that's just plastic. However, the truss rod cover itself is legitimate metal. How nice is that? I was just expecting something plastic like the rest. And that reads Tommy Thayer. Here's a feature that I was not expecting or didn't realize that this thing had. It's got multi-ply binding along the top, but there's no binding on the back. So it's kind of like one of those studio customs, except for it's just not slightly thinner. That's an interesting look. I thought for sure that this was more so like a Les Paul custom, but it's more so a standard in the location of it, but custom with how much layers it has. Let's go ahead and test out these blue knobs though with our DC resistance. Also notice that you have the thumb bleeds on there. Your bridge pickup reads 16.1, so these are very hot. This one, it's about the same, a little bit higher, 16.04, and in the middle, about half that. So this should definitely be a rockin' little guitar here. And you've just got the output jack on the side here. As far as the specs, it is a maple top with a mahogany body, and you've got the mahogany neck with an Indian laurel fretboard. I'm really happy to announce that I was able to darken up this color. I mean, it's not a super, super dark board, but after one coat of oil, it was like, oh man, it's just gonna stay bright. But then I left a little bit more on there, and now it's starting to look the way that I would expect it to. So I'm happy with how that turned out. But we've got 22 medium jumbo frets on here. It's your standard 12-inch radius. And you've got the Perloy trapezoid inlays and a Graphtec nut. As far as neck specs, our nut width is 1.7 inches, and that increases to 2.1 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.81, and by the 12th, 0.87. Now they call this the Tommy Thayer neck profile, and it really does not match what he talked about in his Epiphone video. So I'm not sure if they changed it or something, but this is the Epiphone D-shaped neck. But moving on to the face of the guitar here, once again, you get the hollow flake finish. It says Epiphone Les Paul Electric Blue. As far as QC goes, once again, you got your crooked screws on this one. It just seems to be how all Epiphones are. And they did an okay job with getting the paint off the binding. You've got a little bit right there. And if you're being really nitpicky, you can tell a few locations where the blue got up on the binding. Like right there, but I really don't think it's that big of a deal. But if they wanted to improve on something, maybe they could get them to razor blade those binding areas a little bit more before they clear coat it. Okay, now we got strings back on it. The factory setup, pretty much non-existent. I had to put some relief into the neck because it was actually bowing upwards. Now it actually plays pretty good. I actually had to raise the action just a hair because straight out of the box this was really fret buzzy, but it's just because they had decked that a little bit too low. So I'd call it like a medium-low action right now. Perfectly playable. Let's switch on over to the back here, see where the magic truly lies. I love the back of this thing. It's where you can really take some time to appreciate this finish, that's for sure. But underneath the back plates, unfortunately, a little bit let down here. They should have went full CTS pots for this. I feel for the price and doing nice pickups, they kind of let their fans down here. But it does appear to be hand-wired made in Korea pots, so I'm sure they're not garbage. They're just not the highest end stuff. It looks like your three-way toggle switch is on a quick connect system that they've soldered onto there, but the pickups themselves, they're actually soldered directly to the pot, so if you wanted to swap those out, it would be relatively easy to do. And they came really close to losing that screw, but it looks like they just barely made it. As far as the back plates themselves, it's just kind of a flat back on this side, and then you've got a back side that's glossy. As far as the neck goes, nothing too much more to say about that. These are made in China. You can take these stickers off, but this is on the guitar underneath the finish. That's the Spaceman logo, Electric Blue. And once again, his signatures, and you get 18:1 ratioed Grovers, so decent tuners. And this particular one was made in 2020. All said and done though, this thing weighs 9 pounds, 6.1 ounces. That's not too bad for a Les Paul styled instrument. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how this thing sounds. Now that we know all about the Epiphone Tommy Thayer Electric Blue Les Paul, what are my final thoughts on this thing? It's certainly an interesting guitar that I will never forget. This finish is just mind-boggling how sparkly it is. This is seriously one that you'll have to check out in person, because in camera it comes close to what you see in person, but you really can't capture that blue to purple that I've been talking about this whole time. As far as playability, it was a nice guitar. It's not my favorite neck profile shape, but it's something you get used to. Once it's been set up, you should be okay there. However, the tones. I wasn't a big fan of this guitar with some distortion. I had to do some tweaking to my playing demo to make it sound halfway decent. And that seems to be a recurring theme on the review of these, so I don't know if that comes down to the pots or what, because JBs are pretty well-respected pickups. And even in Thayer's own demo video, I wasn't all that impressed. So the big question, would I ultimately recommend this guitar for $849? I think this one's just for Kiss and Tommy Thayer fans, or for a gigging musician that needs a statement piece. It's a good guitar, don't get me wrong. It's not just a quick cash grab, because they actually highly spec these things out. You get the limited edition case, USA pickups. To make this even better, it should have had 500K CTS pots and an ebony fretboard. But there's a lot of guitars that play just as well and sound just as good for a lot less than this one. So I view this more as a collector's guitar, despite being an Epiphone. I would love to see a Gibson custom shop release like this one. That'd just be silly. So check one out if you ever see one. I couldn't see myself playing this every day, but it's definitely a lot of joy to look at occasionally. As far as the Blacklight Test goes, this is one strange guitar. It turns like a pinkish reddish color, which is just absolutely fascinating. I think that kind of helps show off that purple color I was talking about. And then the binding, it glows this really bright color. So hey, if you've got fluorescent lights on stage, this thing will definitely be a knockout, even more so than in regular lighting situations. So yeah, it was a super interesting guitar, and I'm glad I was able to get to document this. One last fun fact for this guitar is it was actually, I think, the first new Guitar Day purchase, but for some reason, it was just kind of difficult to get here. So thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed checking out the Les Paul Electric Blue, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.